Welcome into the Wellness Lab, the podcast that shows you how to create your wellness equation. Well, what is the wellness equation? Been thinking a lot about that as I've been rebranding this show and coming up with new ways to teach and new ways to share the mission of this show to elevate people's wellness and really have an impact. So the wellness equation is going to be four things. And what I'll do over the series of a couple episodes is break down each of these boxes. And the four buckets, so we've got it for future reference, are health, wealth, peace, and happiness. These are what I would say the four buckets are to creating your own wellness equation, which is what we'll start to learn together over the next episodes, over the next years, over the next lifetime together. Because wellness, let's be honest, is a lifetime approach. It's a lifetime endeavor that grows and changes as you change. So today, with that in mind, let's start with health. The bucket of health, it's a broad term, but if we break down health into four buckets as well, and we're predominantly going to talk about physical health today, not mental or emotional. We'll talk about that later. But on the physical health side, there's four buckets to look at. The first one's going to be exercise, nutrition, sleep, recovery, and stress management. Those are kind of your four buckets to go through. So exercise, nutrition, sleep/recovery, and stress management. If you can start to manage these four buckets within the health bucket, you can drastically start to improve the way your health is, the way you feel, the way you look, the way your energy, your mood. I can't tell you how many people come into my studio at Tribe and they go, Nick, I don't feel well. I've got no energy. I'm not excited about life. My confidence is low. Things aren't working. I'm shocked at how many people come in. They want to make a change. They have a vision of how they want to be, but they're not taking action to do so. And the first thing I ask them all the time, I go, what are you doing to work on your goals? And I can't tell you how many people say, not much. Or they say, I walk. And I hate to say it, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just not enough to get the job done, especially in today's world where we have to be very conscious about creating health. You have to create your own health. That's a very conscious thing that you need to be an active participant in. The world around us is designed for us to be unwell. The food system, the medical system, TV, fast food, alcohol, constantly on our phones, constantly watching stuff like this on YouTube or Instagram. It's pulling our attention away from where? It's pulling our attention away from ourselves and it's putting it outward. So a lot of health and ownership and creating is turning your attention inward onto yourself. And I hope what I can do today is demystify some of this. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't even have to be fancy. It can be really, really simple. And I think that's the key, is making it simple and sustainable. So back to the people that come into my studio, like, what are you doing? I'm walking. Okay. I eat pretty good. Do you? The average person moves less than they think and they eat more than they think. So we have like an inverse thing here where we think we're a lot healthier than we are. 70% of the United States is overweight and or obese. That means for men, over 25% body fat, for women, over 30% body fat. Just look around, you can see it. So when it comes to making things happen, the first thing you can do, the easiest thing you can do, I would say this is the lowest hanging fruit, is how I'd refer to this. This is exercise. Okay. And exercise isn't walking. Okay. Walking is great for your health. It's great for helping you lose body fat. It's great for your mind. It's great for your overall wellness. But for exercise, we need to pull some other levers. Okay. And I'd say there's three levers we need to pull for exercise. The first one is frequency. The magic number is 3 times a week in my experience. Okay. And this isn't 3 times a week of walking or yoga or Pilates. And nothing on that. You know, I'm a yoga teacher, but I'm the first one to tell you yoga isn't exercise. It doesn't pull enough of the levers, right? It's not going to develop strength. It's not going to build muscle. It's not going to help you lose body fat, right? It'll help you tone. It'll help you feel better, help you move better. But for exercise, we need to be pulling the 3 levers. So first one, frequency. 3 times a week is your magic number, okay? The second one, duration. Duration, 45 minutes to an hour, okay? Unless it's 30 minutes, you got to be going, if it's 30 minutes, you got to be going all out for those 30 minutes, like high effort. And the third lever is intensity, right? And this is really where walking or yoga or Pilates isn't going to pull the lever of intensity in the same way that weight training is. So what I'm really getting to now is 3 times a week of focused, intentional, and intense weight training and or strength training. If you don't know how to do this, Get on YouTube, look up some videos, reach out to me. I've got virtual stuff. If you're in San Francisco, come take a session at Tribe. But you've got to get sweaty. You've got to move your body. You've got to do things that build your strength, break down your muscles, challenge your system under stress to grow, to adapt, and to move well. If you do this, this will start to make your flywheel of health start to flow, start to function. Most people listening, your metabolisms are turned off because you're not pulling these 3 fitness levers. Okay. Pull these levers. What this will start to do is, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of us have stored fat. What all that is stored energy on your body. So your liver and your muscles get so full of glycogen. You can pretty much call that sugar. It's not quite it, but this talk, let's say that. They get so filled with sugar that every time you eat, there's nowhere for the nutrients and the food you're bringing in to go except to food storage, because your muscles and your liver are so full because you're not using sugar, glycogen, for exercise. So your tank, you need to reduce the amount of sugar glycogen in your tanks so that when you eat, there's actually room for it to be utilized rather than to be stored. So as you start to exercise, your flywheel, your metabolism, your liver, your muscles all start to have more space, more room for more food to come in. Well, once that happens, all of your fat stores start to get utilized as energy, and that's how you start to lose weight. So first thing, exercise. Pull those 3 levers: frequency, duration, and intensity. Intensity is probably the most important. Okay, second bucket, moving to nutrition. As you're starting to exercise now, again, exercise, not movement, then you'll have the ability to metabolize more food in your system. Well, remember how I said our body is storing a lot of fat. Okay. The best way to reduce the amount of fat storage you have is to simply increase the amount of protein that you're eating. So let's say you weigh 100 pounds. Okay. What you would do is take 100 times 0.7. So that's 70. That's going to be the amount of grams of protein that you're going to eat per day. That's your minimum amount. Now, if you're 200 pounds, now you're going to eat 200 times 0.7, which is going to be 140 grams of protein. Okay. I eat a minimum of 150, even up to 200. You're going to go, oh, Nick, that's so much protein. Oh my God. It's not. That's only about 500 calories. Okay. It's not that much. So what you're going to do, take your weight, times it by 0.7. That's how many grams of protein you're going to start to eat per day. And then from there, take your weight, times it by 10. And then that's going to be how many total calories you eat per day. So again, if you're 100 pounds, 70 grams of protein, and then you would do 100 times 10, and now you're going to be eating 1,000 calories per day. Here's the way you do this to start, is you eat your 70 grams of protein, and then the rest of your calories can be anything. They can be anything you want, as long as they stay under your total calorie goal. So 70 grams of protein, 1,000 calories. Okay. If you do that, I promise you will start to see shifts in your weight, in your muscle, in your energy, and your mood. This is the simplest way to start to change the way you're eating. Now, how are you going to know what you're eating? Well, you're going to need to track it. You're going to need to download something like MyFitnessPal. Again, if you need resources, reach out to me. I've got a whole system for this with Tribe. But you're going to have to start to track your nutrition, at least for a week, because you probably have no idea what you're eating. And remember, you're eating more calories most likely than you think, and you're exercising a lot less than you think as well. So we need to bring awareness, we need to bring mindfulness to what we're eating. So tracking food becomes the mechanism for mindfulness. Oh, I didn't realize I was eating so much fat. Oh, I didn't realize that the 5 cocktails I had on the weekend were 800 calories. I didn't realize that I had, 10 tortillas this week, or just whatever, kind of making stuff up. Once you have the awareness and the mindfulness to see what you're actually eating, then it gets really simple to start to make more conscious decisions. And ultimately, what this will teach you is how to intuitively eat, how to go, you know what? I'm hungry. I haven't had enough protein today, or my energy's low. I haven't had enough carbohydrates today. Okay. The other secret of eating like this is going to be, as the more protein you eat, the less sugar you're going to crave. So protein does a great job at making us satiated and reducing sugar cravings, which also leads to helping us lose weight. Finally, not to go too deep, but protein requires more calories, more energy for you to break it down and burn it. So by eating more protein, it helps your metabolism function and fire better. Once you've got exercise and nutrition together, this is the secret sauce of creating more muscle, losing body fat, increasing energy, increasing your metabolism, looking better, feeling better, moving better. Well, once that starts to happen, guess what? I find people start to sleep better. Now that gets us into our third bucket of sleep/recovery. So as you start to break down your muscles through exercise, we're not building muscles through exercise, we're actually breaking down muscles. This is really important to understand. The way we rebuild muscle and rebuild our strength is through proper nutrition, like we already talked about, and then sleep, recovery, and that's when our muscles recover. So as you start to move more, start to exercise more, you start to eat better, what'll happen is you'll start to sleep better because you actually start to be using your energy in your system. You'll be getting tired. As you start to sleep better, and this doesn't necessarily mean longer. Ideally, you're going to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but if you can't, if you're only getting 5 to 6, you want to focus on your sleep quality. Okay, so as you exercise and you eat better, you'll find that your sleep quality will improve. Okay, well, what are some things you can do to improve your sleep quality? Okay, one thing I do is called the 3-2-1 rule. So 3 would be that you don't eat 3 hours before bed. Okay, 2 is no screen time 2 hours before bed, and then the third one is no water an hour before bed. The 3-2-1 method is going to help you kind of come in for a landing. Okay, if we're eating, if we're watching movies that are like action packed, if we're drinking a bunch of water all before bed, this isn't going to allow our system to be in a state to relax and rest and digest. So you want to start to come in for a landing by doing the 3-2-1 rule at night. Another thing you can do, which I find to be extremely beneficial for sleep quality, is get mouth tape. Okay, there's something out there called hostage tape. If you put this over your mouth when you sleep, it'll force you to breathe through your nose, which I find drastically increases my sleep quality, quantity, and the way I restore and wake up fresh. It's a little weird at first. It's also not the most intimate thing if you have a partner. Once you put it on, you can't talk to them, but it is transformational. It's one of the best things I've found for sleep. On top of that, another thing you can do is take magnesium. And magnesium, take this about 2 hours before you go to bed. Magnesium are the vitamins and the minerals that allow your muscles to relax. Okay, calcium makes them contract. Magnesium makes them relax. Take this 1 to 2 hours before bed. I'll just notice this sense of kind of like relaxation that happens in my muscles. This will help you sleep better. This also helps you recover more. So now you're kind of hacking your sleep through the 3-2-1 rule, through the mouth tape, and also through magnesium. Okay. If you need something a little stronger, try some CBD, CBN, maybe THC, light doses. I would try to stay away from melatonin in general. And if you do take melatonin, just 1 to 2 grams. That's all you need. You just need a little to flick the melatonin response in your brain, but not enough to knock you out so that you wake up groggy. Start to do these tips on sleep, and you will notice drastic improvements in your energy, in your sleep quality, waking up more energized, needing less caffeine. Putting these all together is definitely a way to start to recover more as well. Okay, last thing, moving into stress management. Well, what I'll find is as people start to exercise, they start to move better, they start to feel better, they start to then sleep better. And then eventually what that does, it starts to make them feel better. And the interesting thing here is as you start to do these other things, you pull these other 3 levers, stress management starts to kind of naturally happen. Okay, it becomes less of something you have to do and more of something that just kind of happens, right? Now, if you want some stress management techniques, what I would say the best thing to do is go back and watch one of the videos I did recently around one-to-one breath. Okay. The one-to-one breath is going to be the basis of you learning to control your breathing in order to change your physiology, change the way you think, eventually change the way you feel, and change the way you live. Okay. But simply what you can do is in through your nose, inhale for a 4 count, and then out through your nose, exhale for a 4 count. Okay. Do that for 5 minutes. Okay. Focus on nothing but your breath, counting in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. And something I was teaching a yoga class the other day is if you do that, when you do that, you don't have the ability to think about your problems because you can't focus on your breath and counting and being present and thinking about lunch or thinking about what happened yesterday or thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. So the magic in this is that it allows you to be present, maybe for the first time in your life. And it's a technique, these are called anchors, that allow you to focus on something else rather than your problems, rather than your incessant thoughts. Well, as you start to do that, your stress will start to reduce. Okay. And what I find is when I move well, when I eat well, when I sleep well, my stress is lower, right? So maybe I wake up with a stress response of like a 2 out of 10. And then throughout the day, I give myself a better chance to stay in less stress, right? Or if it starts to build, maybe it gets up to a 3, a 4, a 5, I can start to feel it. I can start to notice it. I can then go exercise. I can do some breathing. I can take a break and reset. Compared to if I don't eat well, if I don't move well, if I don't sleep well, well, then I find personally that I wake up with a higher stress response. Maybe I start the day at a 5. I start with some low grade anxiety. I'm already in kind of a bad mood. I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Well, what happens there, I notice for me is then I start to get to a 6, a 7, or an 8 really quickly. And then it's almost like the ship has sailed. And before I know it, my day's kind of lost. I feel lost. And then in order to come back to like a low grade level of stress, like a 2 or 3, it takes me a lot more. I have to go get a full workout in, or I have to do a full meditation. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but really what I'm saying is as you start to pull these other levers of exercise, nutrition, and sleep, you start to mitigate your stress on the front end, almost preventing it rather than having to manage it on the back end. So I prefer to stay more on the preventative side of stress. And then when I find a high stress level, then get more on the management side. And that's when you're going to go to some of the techniques I've taught in the other videos. But again, do the 1-to-1 breathing, inhale 4, exhale 4. You can lay on your back, put your hand on your belly and your chest, and breathe into your belly, breathe into your chest. These are fantastic ways to settle your nervous system, to get you out of fight or flight, to get you more into the parasympathetic nervous system of rest and digest and presence and calmness. Okay. And what you'll find is as you start to use these 4 buckets, moving better, eating better, sleeping better, and feeling better, your life will transform. And as I started today and talking about the equation, you're going to have to figure out for yourself what's the right amount of exercise, what's the right type, what's the right amount of food, what's the right type, okay? Sleep, how much sleep, what type of sleep, what works, and then for stress, what helps you reduce it, what doesn't, what do you need to avoid, what do you need to do more of? I can't answer that for you. I can give you help, I can give you ideas, I can give you tips. You can reach out, but you've got to start to build this equation like I talked about in the previous episode on your own. What works for you, use more of that. What doesn't work for you, get rid of that. What works for me, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, don't use it. Okay. And you got to practice these things for a while. These aren't like, do them one and done. Do something for a month and track. How does it make you feel? How's your sleep? How's your mood? When you went to exercise, were you energized? A lot of these things become feedback, right? And as you get more aware of your health, then you can start to manage it more. You can start to change things more. And then you're almost like like an alchemist. You're just kind of calibrating. Okay, do I need more exercise? Do I need less? Do I need more nutrition? Do I need less? Do I need more sleep? Do I need less? Do I need more breathing? Do I need less? Right? And then it's just basic little things all day long. So notice when you get to this place, it's actually very simple. What do I need more of? What do I need less of? At first, it can be a little overwhelming, but just trust that over time, as you get more adept, as you practice more, as you get to know yourself more, almost like becoming your own self-scientist, okay? This gets much easier over time, and it just becomes what you do. It becomes very intuitive and very innate, and this is where you can get to as well, and this is where I hope to be able to lead you to on this journey through these podcasts and as we explore and as we grow together. So take care of yourself, be healthy, be happy, be well, start to exercise more, start to eat better, start to sleep better, and start to feel better in order to change your life. And then in the future, we'll talk about some of the other buckets of wealth, peace, and happiness, right? If you appreciated the show, if you learned something from it, like it, subscribe, share. I do this all out of the not the goodness of my heart. No, that's not it. I do this all as a way to share, as a way to help, and a way to serve. So if you found it beneficial, please share it with someone else who you think this might change their life as well. And until next time, much love. Bye.